Thanks for coming out, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, dude.
Yeah, this is cool. Because Evan told me, he said you'd be a good guest because you have a lot of like interesting history and like you've done a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah, man.
But you just got back from a trip to Waco.
Yeah, dude.
But I want to hear about that because I didn't get to talk to them about it.
So originally, I had this idea because my parents are moving originally from Corpus Christi. So
okay.
My parents are moving to Dallas. They just moved in last week. So I was like, hey, I'm going to go visit you. I was like, wait, the wave pool's only an hour away. So I might as well like plan a trip around that too.
Yeah.
So I just got a group of guys to come. And then funny thing how it happened, another group from Jackson, the Jacks Board Riders Club, was there like coming the same time I was. So I was like, hey, let's just all get together and just have an epic trip at the wave pool. And it was so much fun. So tiring, like. Oh,
I bet. Yeah. You can scoot back too. Yeah, you're good. Yeah, the mic's super sensitive. Yeah, I was so curious about the wave pool thing. I've wanted to go to one for a while, just because it's such a crazy concept.
Oh yeah,
because like you can put it in somewhere where there's no waves and just like have epic waves. How are they compared to like a legit wave though?
So I'd say like the difference between like surfing the pier and then the wave pool. The wave pool, your timing is the same every time because you know where that section is going to be to do a maneuver on, and you don't really have to paddle as much, so you're surfing a lot more rather than like duck diving, paddling, doing that part of surfing. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot different though, for sure. Like when I first got there, I was like, I think I'm gonna blow this, and I did. I blew like 2 hours. Like I wasn't surfing. Like I looked like I didn't know how to surf. Because you have to like figure out how the wave works, you know?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because you have to surf away from the wall and then start surfing towards the wall, which is a crazy concept. You're like angling your board, like for a right, you're angling your board like you're going left, and then you have to like fade in.
Huh. And how long were you able to go like per session?
So each session's about an hour long.
Okay.
So like we probably caught like 20 waves per an hour.
That's a lot.
Yeah, which is a lot.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Your hip flexors are just on fire.
Yeah.
And your legs are just like, I was like sitting down and shaking because of like I've never used that many muscles like surfing, because you're actually surfing more than like I said, paddling and.
Right, because like for here you can't do that. There's too many people and like there's not enough like consistent waves to like be hitting it like a lot. So that would be like, that's like an endurance, turns into like an endurance thing, which like you would see in like California or like Hawaii, but not here.
It was kind of funny too. Like yesterday I went and did like a little grovel session at the pier at, around like 4:00, and my etiquette was different because at the wave pool you don't have to look over your shoulder because you're the closest one to the wall, so you're gonna catch that wave. And then here you're like, if you don't look, someone's gonna try to go deeper than you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
that's so different.
So I feel bad for the guys that learn to surf in wave pools because they come to like an actual ocean break and their etiquette's gonna be all jacked up.
Are there people who like purely surf wave pools?
A lot of those guys that we surfed with, they're like from Dallas or Austin, Texas, and they're just like weekend warriors, and they go there.
What?
Even though the coast is only 3 hours south.
That's such a weird like thing to think about. Like never even having to go to a beach and like being a good surfer.
Yeah, I mean, but I feel like out of all the waves in the world, that's the spot to get dialed.
Really?
Oh, for sure. Because like I said, it's just. You have like 3 sections to do a lot of turns on, and then the end section's a barrel. So you can learn how to do proper snaps, and then the end section you can either try a little air out of it or get barreled. So like it has everything you want to do as a surfer.
I wonder how it compares to like the Kelly Slater one.
Yeah,
I mean, are they similar technology?
So I know Kelly Slater's is a lot more expensive to run because it's a way longer wave. It's like 700 yards, I think.
700 yards?
Oh yeah, and that's like
long time.
It's crazy.
Oh my gosh. I didn't realize it was that big.
Yeah.
How long was this one?
So on my Garmin, like I have like the surf app for the watch.
Isn't that such a cool feature?
Yeah, it is.
It's so neat they threw that in there.
I think it was like maybe 200 yards like max.
Okay.
Which is it's a lot of
That's still bigger than
that's 2 football fields. Like.
Yeah, if you think about that, that's a longer time than you would get here.
Oh, for sure.
Usually. Dang, that's pretty interesting. When I was in middle school, we had to do like a research project, and one of mine was surfing should be in the Olympics, and like I did a ton of research on like wave pools and like how that would be like an effective way of doing it, because it'd be like a extremely fair way of judging it. I mean, now they're so expensive, like it won't really work out, but it is a cool concept. Yeah.
A funny story about that. So I was originally supposed to go to Waco last November.
Okay.
And so and I was like, okay, I have $500 put aside, 5 hours public session. Let's go.
Oh, is that like how much it costs?
Yeah, it's like about $100 per hour. And then so I hit my buddy up from Corpus. I was like, hey, let's go. I'm going to be in town. Let's go surf the wave pool. I called them. They're like, hey, this whole week's booked out. And I was like, how does someone book out a whole week? And it was like the Olympic surf team.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah, so they booked it out for a whole week
cool.
straight. And I was like, what? Yeah, like I guess Carissa Moore was over there. A few other pro surfers. The only one I really was told was that Carissa Moore was going to be there. So
that's really cool.
I was like, oh, it's sick for her, but I was so bummed. It's like, oh man, I can't surf the wave pool.
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh yeah.
And so you said the Jack's Board Riders Club. What is the Jack's Board Riders Club exactly?
So basically, the Jack's Board. So Dane Jeffries, the founder of it. So in Australia, each town has a board riders club.
Okay.
And it's basically government funded. It's like they have gyms, a place you could stay where you could shower, put your boards. It's basically like a fire station, but for surfers.
What?
And each town has a board riders club, and they both surf against each other. And so that concept, Dana was like, hey, this would be rad in Florida. Let's get it going. Because there's so many surf towns and surf communities. And this is kind of one way to get everybody together, get the community together to basically push the Groms to go to that next level and just have all the community backing them,
Yeah.
And it's just basically a grassroots nonprofit that just supports local healthy community growth, and we basically give back to Surf Your Negra, and we run surf contests, and it's awesome, man.
Dang, that's so. And it started pretty recently here, right?
I think last year is when it first started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So are they working towards having their own place for it?
Oh yeah, it's in the works for sure. I mean, but being in Jack's Beach, every area that looks it's oh, this would be perfect for us. It goes away quick,
That's so true.
This community this place is getting huge fast.
It is booming. I was actually I was down south for a prone paddleboard race, and we were driving around, and there's so much more open areas on the water, and I was like, this would never happen in Jacksonville. If there's an open space near the beach,
Hotel.
It's gone.
Hotel,
yeah,
instantly.
Instantly.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, that is so interesting how different it is, because property here is so expensive, and it's just going up.
I know.
It's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of people I know that bought houses back in 2010 for dirt cheap, and now they're they're just growing equity on it.
Yeah, it's just making money. It's crazy. It'd be sweet if I owned this place. Then because it'd be a great spot. But so Evan mentioned me. You were a Marine.
Yeah.
So what happened? When did you do that? How long ago?
High school, 2013. I graduated in June, and then 2 months after that, I shipped out to boot camp.
Really? Or did you go to high school here?
No, I went to high school in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Oh, right.
I'm a Texas boy. Yeah. So I did that, and I kind of looked at it as hey, I could serve my country and also surf really cool places in the world, and I actually got to do that. So a little quick backstory. So I went in the Marine Corps. I was trying to go recon, which is basically one step below MARSOC, which is Marine Corps Special Forces. So I was I volunteered when I went to my technical school, which was the School of Infantry out in Camp Pendleton. 3-month course. I did that, and I volunteered. I was like, okay, sweet. I'm gonna be in California for a while. I get to surf these waves, right? And then the government shutdown happened, and then all the guys who volunteered to go recon got basically taken off the list, and it was only the guys that were contract recon that were going to go to the school. So they're like, hey, Jaren, sorry, you're not going to go to BRC, which is basic reconnaissance course, so you're going to go 3-3 out in Hawaii. And I was like, oh, I'm getting stationed out in Hawaii. I was kind of bummed because I was dead set on the recon thing.
Yeah.
But then afterwards I was like, wait, I'm about to go to place where people pay to surf. So I got stationed on Marine Corps base Kaneohe with India Company. I was a grenadier. I was in a line platoon, which is basically machine gun section, rifle platoon, mortars, all that stuff. It was pretty cool. We deployed to Korea, Okinawa, all over the South Pacific. It was rad.
Dang, how long were you based in Hawaii?
4 years.
4 years living in Hawaii.
So basically I was there for 2 years because each of our deployments were 6 months. Yeah.
Okay. Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was fun, man.
So you've lived in a range of places, like Corpus Christi, Hawaii, and then like Jacksonville now.
Yeah.
How did those three compare? Like, what did you learn from each of those places?
So where I grew up, like, it's a small surf community, kind of like here. And I started surfing pretty late, like 14 years old. So all the guys that were already out there, they were already like in their little group. So I was like trying to like get into that group. It was like, it was cool. It was hard. I mean, I had a few really good friends that surfed and they brought me in there and I got to surf our pier break and all that stuff. And then I started getting the hang of surfing right when I joined the Marine Corps, and then I got stationed in Hawaii, and I never surfed. I'd never seen reef in my entire life. I was like, whoa, this is crazy.
It's different. Yeah.
And so I remember my first day, I got a beach cruiser with a bike rack, and I had my board for Texas. It was like a Texas board, and it was like macking double overhead, like Officers Beach on base. And I went to one of the lifeguards. I was like, hey, is there any place smaller right now? I'm from Texas. And they were like laughing. They loved it. And so I got in with the lifeguards on base, and they kind of like brought me in their little community. We had like fish fries, and they were like showing me like the spots, like the secret spots that are on the east side and stuff like that. And that's like where I knew. I was like, hey, like people love like good energy and stoke and friendliness rather than just like you're surfing doing the talking, if you know what I'm saying. Like,
right.
Because a lot of people have the idea of like, hey, I surf really good, I should be able to get into this community. I'm like, well, that's part of it, but like your personality and like the way that you give back to somebody and like your energy just puts it all together and makes it easier for you to adapt into that community, you know?
Yeah, I had Charlie Current on here, and one big thing he was talking about, because he's he's really into mixed martial arts now. Yeah. And he was saying how it's interesting with surfing. Sometimes there is a bad like localism vibe, and like some people don't put out good energy, and it's like frustrating because in like the mixed martial arts community, there is that like people are trying to help each other, and it's really cool when you can see like in surfing like people putting out good energy and like getting it back, and it makes a more like friendlier, happier community.
It's healthy. Like it makes your session so much better, like, because like for me, like when I go surfing, like I come after a good day, I come back home and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And then like I mean, and like the loc dogs are gonna get theirs, right? And like everybody, and you got to respect locals and stuff like that. But like I feel like there's something more to it, like you said, like good energy, just positivity and just stoke, and people love it. Like you can be from everywhere, and like people like, it's just one of those toxic. It's not toxic. I mean, it's contagious, you know what I'm saying? Like, right. It's like, wow, like this guy's super happy, I love it, now I'm happy. And it just keeps spreading like a wildfire. It's awesome.
It is cool. And it can be the opposite too. Like if someone has negative energy,
then everybody's bummed.
Then everyone's bummed out. And it's just like you could come in a good mood, and then all of a sudden this guy's like pissed off about who knows what, and then it just spreads, and it's horrible.
Oh, for sure.
So you got to have those people out there who are spreading the good energy to overcome that negative, because there is a lot.
That's kind of how like the Oregon coast was for me. Like I never really felt the good vibes in that area.
Really?
Yeah. Seaside, Oregon is like super remote, small surf town, and there's like a spot called the Point. It's like one of the best left point breaks on the West Coast, and it's super secret. Like the Groms, like if the Groms see you paddling out there and you're not from there, they'll be throwing the rocks at you. Like it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, like a few of my buddies are rescue swimmers out there, and one of them, Dan Wilson, he's from England, and he's a gnarly guy. He surfs so good, and he used to tell me you like wake up at like 5 a.m. and paddle out in the dark just to catch a few waves, and then he'd hightail it back in, you know,
just so he wouldn't get like rocks.
Yeah, because I remember it was like Memorial Day weekend. It was super mellow. Like the waves are 2 to 3 foot. I was on a longboard, and this guy like blatantly burns me, and I'm just like, and I wasn't mad about it. I was like, dude, like you could have just looked back and said party wave. I got like, and he was like, do I know you? Are you from here? And then they like hassled me out of the water, and I was like, come on, bro. Like, jeez. Like I wasn't even doing anything wrong. Like, you know what I'm saying? But like but at the same time, you kind of have to understand that, because people, they probably had bad experiences with people that are not from there that didn't show the respect that was supposed to happen. So they kind of like it kind of it's like goes both ways. You know what I'm saying? They probably ruined it for everybody else. That's why people act that way.
Yeah, like it's just it takes one person, and then it's just,
oh yeah,
that's
for sure. And that's what I'm trying to like. The message that I want to kind of like spread is that like positivity will always reign. Like it'll always be over everything. You know? Like, like a smile goes 1,000 miles. You know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Totally. That's so interesting about Oregon though. I've never been. It's such a rugged.
Oh, it's
place.
Gnarly, dude.
That coastline's insane.
It's probably the heaviest surf I've ever surfed in my life.
And you're cold, sketchy.
And you're in a 5 mil wetsuit. Yeah. It's pouring rain. Like there's orcas in the water. You're like, oh my goodness.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That would be a wild thing.
It's unreal, dude. It's a wild place.
Because I've as a photographer and like underwater photographer, I've swam with like sharks and whales, and it's cool. But an orc out there, the environment's so like rugged. It's not like a tropical, peaceful environment where you can see everything. It's like it's pretty like it's not very clear there, right?
No, it's like a dark emerald green.
It's just like moody, and it's got the cliffs and the rain. It's just,
and you're like walking with your boards everywhere because you can't like here you could park and it's like 200 feet you're at the beach, right? And then over there it's like you park, it's like 1.5 mile walk with my wet and dry backpack and my board bag, and you know what I'm saying?
It's so different.
And you have to get used to the rain. You're gonna get wet. Wow. So you're never dry in Oregon.
That's it's so crazy, like how someone there would like come here and they would be like, this is like paradise.
Oh my God. Yeah. And that's why like everybody sees me like in January, I'll be in board shorts because it's like, it's night and day. Like over there, like it's like 48 degrees, like year round water.
Oh my gosh. Wait, did you live there for a bit?
Yeah. That's where I met my wife. So I lived there for like 1.5 years. I was on the Oregon coast, Tillamook Bay. I was at a motor lifeboat station. So they call it a surf station. Our boats are 47 feet, and we basically like can break surf. That's like huge. That's a self-riding boat. It's so crazy.
That's sick.
Yeah, it's scary though.
I bet.
You're like you're in the front of the boat, and it's just going over like a 15-foot wave, just boom. It's so crazy.
Oh my gosh. Wait, so then what brought you to Jacksonville?
So I was originally stationed in Oregon, and then I had orders to rescue swimmer A school. So I did that thing with a bunch of my buddies. I got hurt. And at that time, like, so being prior service, like I'm on the clock, the cutting board. Like I have to like get promoted fast.
Yeah.
So when I got hurt, I had to get knee surgery and it kind of put me on the back burner. So like all my training and conditioning was kind of like lost because I was like recovering and I was like going through mental stuff because you're like, something you trained for like for 3 years. You're like, oh, I'm ready for this, and you finally you feel good, and then you just get hurt. So like I like went through that phase in my life, and then I was like, hey, I just gotta get a job title. I gotta get a job title in the Coast Guard. Like I can get kicked out if I don't have one by 2 years. So I went to Yorktown to Gunner's Mate A School, which is basically like a weapons specialist. I work on guns. I instruct on firearms. I coach. I do that kind of stuff, and then I went there. I was crushing it in the school. I like had the highest GPA, and so that's what you want to do, so you can have more like say where you go get stationed.
Oh, okay.
So originally I was about to get stationed in LA, and I was super pumped. I was like, me and the wife were like, okay, we're gonna live in Huntington. Like, let's go. And then the detailer called and he was like, hey, we're gonna have to take away the LA pick because it's not really like within your GM job to go there. Like it's not going to do anything for you. So they're like, okay. I was like, what's my number 2? And they're like, well, we're going to send you to the Mythpoo Kings Bay and you're going to go escort submarines. And I was like, okay, cool. So I was like, Jacksonville's like 45 minutes from Kings Bay. So I was like, okay, it's a cool surf town.
Yeah.
Cody Thompson, my coach, is out here. So I was like, okay, sweet. Whatever, let's go.
Dang, that's cool. I actually my dream for a while was to be a Coast Guard swimmer, a rescue swimmer, but I'm colorblind.
Oh, gnarly.
So that instantly like disqualified me, and who knows how many other people have like been inspired by the movie. But the Guardian.
Oh, dude,
it got me so.
It's a staple. For any, you don't even have to be a rescue swimmer. You're like, oh, this is awesome.
It's a badass movie. And I watched it when I was pretty young, and I was like, that is what I want to do. Like, that's what I got to do. Because, like, I've always loved, like, endurance sports, and like I always was interested in the military, but I never was really like not really a big gun guy, like, you know. So I was like, what's something
that's the best job to do it,
right? Like
you don't really
have to be combat oriented,
no,
like
not at all. Yeah, you're
great.
just a lifesaver.
Yeah, I was like, that's the dream. And then we found out I was colorblind, and that like instantly disqualified. And I got tested so many times. I even talked to like a captain of a cutter of a Coast Guard ship, because he like was alumni of like a camp I went to, and super nice guy. And he was like, the truth, he's like, you really can't, like if you're colorblind, like it's really hard to, because of like signaling lights. I think that was like the big reason.
Because so like any aviation rate, like you have to have that color, right?
Yeah.
Because like you'll see stuff in like the cockpit of the helicopter, right? And like it's like, say maybe your pilot, both of your pilots go down, and you're the only one in there. Like you're not going to be able to see like what you need to work on. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Totally makes sense.
Yeah, the aviation jobs and the diving rates, like they're super strict on your like conditioning and your health.
I'm glad it's like that, because I mean, you want the people who are doing that job to be in the best shape and be the most prepared for it.
Those guys are probably the strong, like they're so comfortable in the water. It's insane.
It is, yeah.
Like going there, like I thought I was like in pretty good conditioning shape, and then like some of these guys are just like their mental fortitude is top tier.
Yeah,
like, it's crazy.
And just watching some of like the training videos that they have online of the guys, like I mean they're literally doing like MMA underwater. They're being like choked out, and they just get like calm and just like remove the instructor, and they just do all the right things.
Oh yeah.
And they're underwater, like, damn, that was impressive. Like that was smooth. And that part it's just so cool to see that they can do that.
And that's why it's so crazy, because like that school gets you so prepared for what's going to happen in the real world.
Right.
So like that's why they make it so hard, like almost
like they over prepare
almost you. Physically impossible, right? Like it makes it seem like physically impossible. But the guys that are just so like hungry and motivated, they just hold on to that goal, and they come out on the top, and they're like stoked, and they go out there and do the Lord's work for the Coast Guard, man. It's awesome, bro.
It's a crazy job.
Yeah, Clearwater's. I have a bunch of homies out in Clearwater, and they get to deploy out to the Bahamas all the time.
Oh my god!
Yeah, dude.
What?
Yeah, dude. That's so crazy.
Can you imagine?
Yeah,
that's so crazy. Yeah, imagine being like out in like Alaska. Like,
oh yeah, I have a few buddies out there too.
I bet they have seen some crazy shit.
Yeah, and it's just cold and gnarly.
Yeah. I feel like when something goes wrong out there, it goes so wrong.
Yeah, like, but they still somehow figure it out, you know?
Yeah. That's a beautiful part of the country, though. I went there with my family once, and it's amazing.
I've never been. My cousins used to live out there, and they said it was so cool, yeah.
Gosh, living out there, I feel that's a hard place to live.
You have to like hunting and hiking. That's it.
You gotta know your shit to like be able to take care of yourself.
And then surfing, if you're trying to surf out there, you better have a boat.
Yeah, or a small plane.
Yeah.
Get to like Aleutian Islands.
A lot of guys I knew out in Oregon, they said the Aleutian Islands were probably the best surf they've surfed in their life.
Oh yeah, that
so remote and just perfect.
Chris Burkhardt he's done a lot of like pictures there and like films, I think, and it's amazing. It's so crazy to think like that's a state, like a U.S. state. Like it's the
last frontier. Yeah,
it's so different looking than like what we have here. Like the range is it's incredible.
Yeah, dude,
it's so cool. So now you're working. So you're working for the Coast Guard now as a gunner's mate. How long are you good? How long do you have left in your?
I have about a year and a half.
Oh, okay.
So I'm kind of like. Right now, so a year and a half is not that much time to think about what your next move is going to be. I could either re-enlist, I can go reserves, find a cool job in the civilian world. But I talked to my wife, and we love this community so much that I'm not really willing to like stay in to like leave here, because I've already our roots are kind of like slowly getting deeper and deeper, right? So what I want to do is what I think I can give back to my community in a different way as a civilian. I want to be a firefighter out here. So
very cool.
So I'm gonna start that process hopefully soon. Because there's like a program in the Coast Guard where if you want to transition, you have a certain amount of time in. They'll pay you to go to that school while you're still in, and it's pretty cool.
Do you think being in the Coast Guard and being in the military prior to will make it easier to become a firefighter?
Oh yeah, it gives you a little bit of a edge. You get like a certain amount of points, and then like especially like people trying to hire people on to the department, they'll see like, oh, this guy's squared away. He's been in the military.
Right.
He knows he knows how to follow orders and knows how to listen. So.
And well, I feel like also a big part about firefighting is being able to stay calm and handle yourself in a stressful situation.
Oh yeah.
And that's something obviously you would have learned from the military.
Yeah, I think that's what the Marine Corps did for me. Like I actually love chaotic stuff, like with a lot of
like
yelling.
You can be calm in that.
Yeah. Not necessarily. Like I mean, I'm still like my heart rate's still up, but like it's just like one of those things. Like it just you thrive in that kind of environment.
Right.
They teach you how to do that. Like you have to be able to communicate with machine guns going off right next to you. You have to be able to communicate you have like 3 other dudes in your team that you're in charge of. You have to be able to move them on a range that people are shooting live rounds, shooting rockets, like crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's probably the most chaotic situation you can be in as
off
a human.
Of no sleep too. So
right, sleep deprived, and then like all like a war going on around you.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, firefighting may be like a breeze for you.
Nah, I mean, I'm definitely like, there's some parts of the job that I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna react to this. Like, but I mean, I feel like the physical aspect and the mental aspect, I feel like I'll do good on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just not ready for all that schoolwork. A lot of my buddies who are rescue swimmers said EMT was hard.
Yeah.
They said it was super hard because the Coast Guard has their own EMT course out in Petaluma, California.
Oh, yeah.
So like that's like once the guys going through rescue swimmer pass school, that's like the first school they go to.
Oh,
so they send them straight there because you're basically a firefighter with fins, a mask, and a snorkel.
Yeah, because you have to be EMT trained. I forgot about that. Yeah,
because you're the first responder.
Right.
In a helicopter. That's your fire engine.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I have to perform all of those. In like that small.
It's pretty
area.
Cool though. Yeah.
Yeah, firefighting. I used to work out at this CrossFit gym, and there were a bunch of firefighters that worked out there, and she was telling us about the tests and stuff, and she was trying to progress and I think become a lieutenant, or she was trying to move up.
Yeah.
And she was like saying how stressful it was, and like there was a lot of studying, and I was like, wow, I didn't realize like how much like school work was a part of it.
It's the same as the Coast Guard. Like, so my buddy in Corpus Christi, he was saying like to study to promote to firefighter 2, you literally have all these manuals and books that you have to just like read through, and that's what your test is going to be over. That's the same thing as the Coast Guard, except the Coast Guard is like you have all these manuals, and then they're like the guy who makes the test like picks the most random portion of it, and that's on the test. So you can't really prepare for it. You just gotta have to like
know everything.
Basically, just know everything.
Would the rescue swimmer job have probably like meshed more with it then?
I'd say so. Yeah, a lot of those guys, because that's like one of the things. Like I was saying, that program called U.S. MAPS, which is basically apprenticeship program. Rescue swimmers, they're like a job that they can do is like a firefighter, EMT, or a paramedic, like because that's what they learn to do. Right. But like gunner's mates, we just learn how to coach. Yeah. I could either do security or police officer. You know what I'm saying?
That's funny. So have you always were your parents in this type of field? Were they?
No, I'm actually I only have 2 uncles that were in they were in Vietnam. They were both Army.
Wow.
And I think I'm the only other guy in my family tree that's been in the military.
So what initially, like, what part of you wanted to do that besides wanting to go everywhere and surf?
So I mean so surfing was a big thing of it. So like surfing became like super important in my life when I was at that age, like 18 years old, and I was like, I love doing this. Like, I mean, I'm not the best at it, but I mean, I love doing it. And so I was like, I don't know if I really want to I don't want to get in like go to school, get in student debt. And I was like, I could probably go to college after this if I just go to the Marine Corps. And, and of course, my buddy who just enlisted in the Marine Corps is like, he's like, hey, buddy, I got a guy who wants to talk to you. So I was like, oh, okay. Like, I was like, kind of like, didn't understand what it was about. So he took me to the Marine Corps recruiter, and one thing led to another. And I raised my right hand, swore in, and got a boot camp date. And that was history. But I think what originally made me want to go is just I love my family. I love my country. I love everybody. And I was just like, this is me giving back to the people that gave to me. Right. So they don't have to do it. I'll do it. You know? And then Even though I never got deployed to like the Middle East or anything, like we still got after it. We did what we had to do. We trained. We were always ready just in case it came to that, you know?
Yeah. Well, because I was wondering, like, what instilled in you this internal, like, desire to, like, help others and, like, protect?
I don't know.
Like, do you think that came from your parents, or do you think that...
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my mom and dad, like, growing up, I've always been, like, super friendly to people, and I like that positive interaction, like I was talking to you about in the water as well. Like, it applies in that aspect, too, of helping others. Like, me helping somebody is probably, it's, like, the best, you know? Like, it's priceless.
Yeah.
Like, somebody, like, when we would be on the Oregon coast and we'd, like, somebody's engine died and they're like, and they'd thank you, like they'd be so happy, and that just made, like, you saved their life, and it wasn't very that hard for you to do that, but like to them it was everything,
right?
You know what I'm saying? And that's like where like it hits me like in a certain way where I'm like, okay, this is like what I want to do for the rest of my life, help other people, and that aspect. And I think like me, I love physical exertion, I love working hard in that aspect where I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to the fire department and do the same thing. Something I already love, like surfing, and I could still surf in my free time, but like on the job and be like running hose and like stuff like that. So I'll be working hard and helping people. So
I think it's super cool when you can find something that you love and then it also happens to like be helping other people.
Oh yeah.
That's the dream.
It is the dream. Yeah. And it's not really about money. It's just like, it's about, like I said, like just being able to interact with the local community and help them, and then also like get after it, grind, like work hard, you know. And
I feel like a firefighter, that's such a great representation of all of that. Like you do get to engross yourself in the community and you're helping other people, and it is a physically demanding job.
Yeah.
It hits like all of the bullets.
But the time off is insane too.
Oh my gosh. The girl who was at the CrossFit gym, she was telling us about that, and my jaw was like,
so
on
it's
the
literally
floor.
Everything you could want in a job.
Yeah. I was like,
combined.
You get like, some days it's like 24 hours on, 48 off. I was like, what? I was like, what is this? That's amazing.
Surfer's perfect job.
Literally, it is. Because then you can just go and like grind. I mean, those 24-hour shifts, I'm sure they're demanding.
Well, like my buddy said, sometimes you're on a 24-hour shift and nothing happens, so you're just well rested. So the next day it's like, okay, let's go, let's do something.
That's such a crazy thing to think. Like you could like literally not have to do anything like all day.
But then there's the other side of it where
it could be
you're
like,
not getting an ounce of sleep.
Right.
You know, like you're just like, okay, we're finally back. Oh wait, another call. Let's go again.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny. So like in movies, you'll like a firefighter movie or a show or something, they'll be like working out and like doing stuff on like their shift, and I'm like, that always made me wonder, like, aren't they gonna be like tired if like the bell goes and like they have to like jump in the
slide
fire
down the pool?
I was like,
the Dalmatian on the way out.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what? I always found that so interesting. I was like, I don't know if I'd be too nervous to like start working out. Like,
that happened to me a lot in Oregon. Like, because we had a little gym like at where we used to sleep, and I'd always like grind, and then like you'd hear the SAR alarm go off, like whoop, whoop,
yeah,
and you're like, oh man, I'm already smoked. I haven't even eaten dinner yet.
Oh my gosh,
and you're out there just looking for somebody like for hours. Hours.
Was that nerve-wracking?
Yeah, because you didn't want to see him. You didn't want to because you're looking for somebody that's been missing, and you don't like, you want to find them alive, but you already knew it was going to happen. So you're like, in your mind, you're like, dude, I don't want to see this person. Like, it's going to mess me up a little bit, right?
Oh, wow.
So like, yeah, so we'd be out doing like search patterns like all night long, and then if the helicopter didn't find it, they'd call it. They'd be like, well, hey, we've been doing this for 3 nights in a row. That person's obviously gone. So
yeah.
We just call it, and like, you're just like, dang, like, if only we were there when that accident happened, you know. That's the bad part of it, you know.
Right. Were there more bad days than good days on that job?
I'd say 50-50. I mean, there were a lot of times where like it was never really like any boat related incident. It was just people hiking on the Oregon coast, and they'd fall off cliffs, and
that was the majority of it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I never would have guessed that. I would have thought it was just like a shipwreck or something.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have a lot of those too, or you'd have people that would be like on a sailboat, and they'd be having like chest pain and start getting into cardiac arrest. And usually like, so our boats would go like 30 miles an hour. Right. And then, so you'd be like on the way to the scene to like go respond. And then south of us, you just see a helicopter. They'd always be, the rescue service would always meet us. And you're like, oh, I wanted to get there to help. But yeah, so they're like the first on the scene. And then we're just over there. Like we'd like pick up like the wreckage or like try to get all their stuff together. So it's like a cleaner like setup, you know?
Yeah. That's just, I'm still so surprised about the falling from hiking. Like, so it's a really like dangerous terrain kind of though.
Yeah, Oregon is, yeah, for sure. There's a lot of cliff rescues those rescue swimmers do. They have to like use the hoist and they have to like,
and they're like not even in the water.
Some people like they get up, they are like climbing or they're like exhausted, so they're like trying to get out of the water because the waves are beating them. So they're like on the cliff and then they just freeze there, and people see that and they call the Coast Guard.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would be scary, though, being frozen on a cliff and not knowing like your next move.
Yeah,
like,
it was nuts.
That would be trippy. Wow, what a cool, like, I'm sure that was a good experience of a job though.
Oh yeah.
You know?
I was super blessed to have that as my like first area I was going to, because I was like, oh, I've never been over that part of the world.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's go.
Yeah, that's so you've done a lot of different stuff.
Oh
like,
yeah.
I'm like thinking about all the stuff you've done and like probably going to continue to do, and you're like wide variety. That's cool. You know, not a lot of people get to like do so many different things in their lifetime.
Yeah. And that's why I think the military is an awesome opportunity for you to like be able to do all those things.
Yeah, just like try a bunch of different stuff.
I see a bunch of 18-year-olds that like I know that join the military, and they're just like posting all these pictures. I'm like, dude, you're going to places where people pay to go to for free.
Yeah.
And you're working in those areas.
Yeah.
And then you're going to pack up and go to a new area at the same time and do the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I thought that another cool thing about the Marine Corps is like our unit, we would, in Hawaii, you had this big event called RIMPAC, which is basically the largest naval exercise in the world. So literally all the navies of our like NATO forces and our allies get together. We just do war games.
Wow.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like you're training with the Kiwis, the Australians, the Tongans.
Oh my gosh.
Japanese.
So
Koreans.
what is a war game? So what do you do?
So like so basically like you'll have like different boats and stuff, and like we're getting dropped off by helicopters on the land. So their special forces are swimming in, like, and you're just setting up your little areas, right? Like where you're gonna hang out for the night in the jungle, and then you're just like they're like shooting at you, you're shooting at them with blanks, and it's just like you're just basically like using your tactics against their tactics.
That is so cool.
It is so sick. And then after all is said and done, you just like get to like hang out with everybody, and you just see like which country is like more successful in different tactics than others. Like the Mexican Marines, like it was nighttime and we did like room clearing. We'd have these buildings, abandoned buildings, that we'd like clear the rooms. It's called Mount, and those guys were so fluid at night.
Really?
It was scary how good they were.
Wow.
Because that's what they do. The Mexican Marines go after the drug cartels in Mexico and
at night.
It's crazy.
Who overall was like?
Oh, USA, baby.
Really? Okay, yeah.
Always, yeah. So it was cool. Like, my first deployment, we got to train the ROK Marines, Republic of Korea, and they loved us. They loved it. Like, it was so crazy. Like, we'd wear their gear and they'd wear ours, and they'd always be like, "Wow, this is so heavy compared to what they wear." Because their gear, like they wear, is like it's more of like, I wouldn't say it's more of just like a fashion item, but it's like it's not as protective as our gear.
Not as tactical.
Yeah. So we'd wear theirs. It was like, whoa, this is like wearing nothing. And
yeah, you can like move around.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, dude. And then my second deployment, I was in a sniper platoon at that point, and we got to train with the Japanese snipers, and it was crazy because like we're super methodical when we're stalking to get to our final firing position.
Yeah. And
they're just like in their ghillie suits, just walking like nonchalant. I'm like,
really?
I was like, yeah, I don't think camouflage works that way, buddy. Like a tree doesn't move like that.
That's funny. That's such a cool and like beautiful experience to be able to work with different cultures and people though.
And their militaries are all the same. They love to drink. They
really?
The Japanese,
like that's a standard?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
That's funny.
I remember every night after we'd go training in the jungle in Japan, like we'd go back to this giant chow hall and like they just give us like we just all just get drunk and just have a good time.
Gosh.
Share story, arm wrestle. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's like the United Nations.
Oh yeah, dude. It's awesome, dude.
Coming together. Yeah, that's not a lot. There's not a lot of places where you could like see that happening. Like where like a bunch of countries and like cultures like can like really merge together and like help each other, because that's really at the end of the day what you guys are all doing. You're like seeing other strategies and like figuring out like what works, what doesn't, you know.
And I think like the overall standard was like we're all serving in the military,
right?
So like you just felt that connection. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it's like that brotherly love.
Yeah, like I still have some of the Korean and Japanese military guys on Instagram. They just still like hit me up. And that was like 6 years ago.
That's so wild.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Or then I'd see like junior Marines that like deployed after I was already out, and they'd see they train with the same guys I trained with when I first got there. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
That's pretty epic.
Yeah, it was really epic. Yeah, the big thing that we always did is like we'd wear like patches on our flak jackets and like we just trade each other.
Oh man, that's epic.
Or we give them our
cool.
like PT gear and they'd give us their PT gear.
Yeah,
it was cool.
That's like racing. Like you like trading shirts stuff at the end of a race.
Yeah, dude.
That's epic. Dang, that's so fun. Out of all of that, what would you say would be like a best memory from being in the military thus far?
I just say the Marine Corps, the Brotherhood, like those guys that I like, my sniper platoon overall, like those guys are probably the best group of dudes I've ever met in my life. Like, and it's just the fact that like they actively communicate with you, they actively check up on you, and they're just always there. Like, and just recently, my buddy Kulon had a birthday party in Houston, Texas. I didn't make it, but it was crazy. I just saw pictures of like all the boys from the platoon, like and we've been out for like 4 years, right? And they all just got together and it acted like nothing ever happened. And that's how it is. Like my buddy, I met him in Austin, Texas. He lives in his van now, but he's from San Diego, and he happened to be in Austin when I was there, and we linked up, and it just felt the same. You know, it's crazy.
Isn't that the best?
Yeah,
like you have people in your life like that.
And I just think it's like, and that's what I'm saying. Like it's the brotherhood. It's like it's almost deeper than family. It's crazy because you're like grinding blood, sweat, and tears with these guys, right?
You're like in the shitter with them.
And it's crazy. It's almost humorous. Like, wow, like how are we this close? Like going through like that, you know?
Yeah. Like we just survived that.
Like, together. And I think that's like, and I think that's what every community should have, is that kind of like brotherhood, you know, like something like that.
Yeah, and that's like something I'm sure like you would want to instill into like the Jack's Ward Riders Club.
Oh, for sure.
Like that, like
just always helping each other, always checking up on each other, just like and doing what you can to like make them better. Like like positively promoting like what they do, you know?
Right.
Like you could have like a coffee company, you could be a delivery boy, but just be like, hey man, you're crushing it. Keep doing better. Like, you know, like that's how it is.
Positive vibes only.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think that's great. And I think that's a perfect way to end this episode.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming out. This was a blast.
Thanks for having me, man. It was fun. We got to do this again sometime.
Of course.